Good morning, everybody. I'm Lisa Natoli, and welcome to our Course in Miracle Friday morning group. I am so happy that we're here. And this morning, I'm very excited that our very own gorgeous Irene Tomkinson will be shining the light here. Her topic is, why do you hide your holiness? And that is like a great question, right? Why do you hide your holiness? And what we do here on Friday mornings is we join together, and this is a celebration, it's a community, and we wanted to create this space that it wouldn't be like a study group where we talk about the ideas. The space is for activation, it's for joining, because that's what A Course in Miracles is all about. It's really that we come and remember the truth of what we are. And I love just a few moments ago before the live stream started, there was so much activity in here, right? We were all just happy and partying and celebrating, and then we come down into a center. Like I asked everybody to please have a seat, and that's the training. Like we recognize that you have the power and the ability to bring yourself back to your center. So no matter what is happening in your life, no matter what problems seem to be occurring, no matter what the body's serial adventures are doing, that's what Jesus calls them, the body's serial adventures. And you recognize that they have no power over you. Nothing has power over you. So you bring yourself back to the center, and you must train yourself to do that. Like we just got back from the Boston conference, and it was amazing, right? And it's so funny, these conferences every year, because I have sort of a sarcastic idea about them before I get there. I don't know. I just think like, oh, whatever. But then I get there, and it's amazing. It's the most unique conference I've ever seen, because it's everyone in the same space, 500 people, all in love with A Course in Miracles, all devoted to the truth, all in one place. And we eat all our meals together, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So often with conferences, when you go to see a teacher, the teacher only comes on stage. You only see the teacher sometimes, and you're the student. But Jesus is saying we're all equal. And so that's what's so great about these conferences, is that everyone's together. And there's a Thursday afternoon pre-conference. This year was Jennifer Hadley for 3.5 hours, and she did a great class on starting A Course in Miracles group. And Jennifer is just a great activator, and she was sharing about starting up a group wherever you are. And I'm speaking to the live streamers here now too, is that why wait? Like Bill and I decided to rent this unity space many years ago, and there was only 5 people here when we first started. And at first you think like, I don't know, $100 every Friday to rent the space. Is it what we're to do? And I don't know. It just felt like, yes, this is what we're to do. And you really answer the call. And that's what Jennifer's class was about. And then Bill and I did a 3.5 hour post-conference on Sunday afternoon. And that was about really carrying this message out back into your life. And we talked about the training that's required. And I can tell you guys now, because we finished the conference, is we showed a clip from a movie called Free Solo. So I encourage everyone to go watch that movie. Free Solo, it's good, right? So it's a biography. David Tomkinson, blown away. So it's a biography about this guy, Alex.
Documentary.
What is it?
It's Alex Honnold. Alex Honnold.
Yep. And he is this guy who decided he was going to climb El Capitan, and it had never been done before. And it is in Yosemite Park, and free solo means no ropes. So it's a mountain that not only goes straight up, it goes like this in some places. It actually goes like this way. And there's one part of the mountain he has to jump. So he has to go from here to here, and the only way to get there is to jump and grab. And we saw the movie about a month or two ago, and we both wanted to talk about it at the Boston conference. And Bill said, the next morning, he said, I'm going to teach about it. I said, well, I was going to teach about it. And he said, well, I said it first. So I said, okay, it's yours. And then he said, you have to swear to me you're not going to post it on Facebook, Lisa, because I know you. You want to just tell everybody what's good, and you have to promise me you don't give it away. And so then we decided we would talk about it on our Sunday post-conference. And the point of the movie for me was that he had to train to do that. And he had to train with ropes to do that. He had the goal, and they have it all on camera. And 3 times that jump, he missed it with the ropes. So he would have died. But he had the ropes when he was trying. I know, right? People are like this in the room. So he jumped, missed it, fell, ropes caught him. He didn't die. But he's going to do this. And I won't tell you anything more. I'm not going to tell you a single thing more about the movie. But that's A Course in Miracles. We're scaling the mountain, and you have to train for it. You can't just say, I want the peace of God and then hope it comes. No, you have to change. You have to become someone entirely different in order to do this. That's A Course in Miracles. So I am just so grateful that we have a space where we can join together. So a couple of announcements. The transformation room is open only for today, right? Today's the last day to sign up?
Is this the 31st?
Yep.
Yes.
Last day.
Okay, so today's the last day to sign up for the transformation room. It's called the Presenter Series, and we have a presenter every single month now. I was last month, and this week is Jacqueline Eckert, who's amazing. And we have Cindy Renard, James Twyman, Corinne Zupko, Robert Perry, Bob Rosenthal, Carol Howe, who? Kelly Russell, just amazing teachers every month. And it is $24? $23 per month. No sign-up fees, nothing, no contract. You can cancel whenever you want. And today's the last day to sign up. So that's at the Teachers of God website, teachersofgod.org. And the 40-day program begins on June 3rd. For anybody who wants to do it and receive the emails again, and to do it with a group. We're not doing Facebook anymore, but they're doing it as a group. And in the school, you all do it together. So it's just a great way for everybody to be on the same page. And I just signed up yesterday. So I was like, oh, yay. Like I got my first welcome email. So that's also on the Teachers of God website. And the final announcement is signing up for Los Angeles next year. So the Course in Miracle Conference has been set for the same Memorial Day weekend. It's in Los Angeles. It's May 22nd or something, 2020. And Bill and I bought tickets at the $479 price, and we've already sold several of them. So we have under 30 tickets available. You can do a payment plan if you want. They're already at $519, and the price is going to keep going up. That includes 4 amazing meals. It's Omni Resort, so the food. What about the food, everybody? And that includes your pre-conferences, post-conferences, Saturday night dance, workshops. There's a discount on the hotel. If you buy your plane ticket early, they're much cheaper, we've discovered from all our traveling. And if anybody wants a ticket, just come see us. We have under 30.
Go to the website.
I'll go to teachersofgod.org under events.
Yeah, and it's right there.
And you just click there. first come, first serve on those tickets. And after that, the price just keeps going up. So we're going to join in meet and greet. And we just take a moment to rise and we join each other in love.
Hair looks really pretty.
Okay, welcome back, everybody.
We have two Hollies.
That's sorry, making it straight. So cute.
He came from a little mother in Mexico. Get on that little square.
Yeah, Okay, welcome back, everybody. So every Friday we do a reading, and it comes from a book called Cafe Gratitude, which is a restaurant in California, and it's a place that is very intentional that they are going to show up in gratitude. So all the wait staff who work there have to have a morning check-in and alignment centering session before they begin working, and that is great practice, right? And before they begin their shift, they have to meet with someone else. They get paid for it. It's part of their shift. And if they're carrying anything before their shift, they have to let it go. So they have to, how awesome is that, right? Imagine if you had a practice like that every day. Before you show up in the day, you dump all your stuff because you're about to serve. You're about to go shine the light and be the light. And then when you could feel it when you walk into Cafe Gratitude. They have several locations in all over California. And the servers there, they ask you questions. What are you grateful for? The plates have, what are you grateful for? And they have this great book, and we read, it's a 365-day calendar, and we love to just have somebody come up here on Friday and read. There's usually 2 quotes, and then to share your experience about what that means. And this morning is awesome Baraka, who is here from Mexico. Yeah. Who is the light of the world?
No, I'm not.
Right, yeah.
As soon as I learn Spanish. Hello, live streamers. It's me on the other side of the camera now. This is really cool. Look at this. Today's quote is from Rumi. Good old Rumi. We like him a lot. Love is the energizing elixir of the universe, the cause and effect of all harmonies. Love is the energizing elixir of the universe, the cause and effect of all harmonies. So there is no difference. You can't just be a receiver of love or a giver of love. You are both, because it is all one. And then the question for the day is, what fact about nature inspires awe? That's for me, because it is my true and honest belief that I am putting everything up on the projection screen, and it is answering me with the lesson that I've asked to learn. And so anything, be it a paperclip or El Capitan, the awe is the fact that it's there for me to learn, for me to be closer to what God asks me to be, God creates me to be. And then when I learn that lesson, I am in awe that all those wonderful things will just be absorbed into heaven. And then we will be the cause and effect of love. They tie together. Look at that. It's amazing. And that's the quote for the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love you.
You want this back in?
Yeah.
I can't take it home.
Thank you so much. So it is with just great pleasure that I introduce today's speaker, Irene Tomkinson. She is something else, right? And, you truly are the perfect demonstration of this message of light. And Irene brings the fun factor into everything she does. And ever since I've met you and David Tomkinson, it's really just been a joy to see that you are ageless, you are timeless, you are eternal. And Irene sometimes makes jokes about her age, and I'm doing my best to make you stop that, because she is not an age. I mean, we went on the Camino last year with 20 friends, and Irene was up at 4 o'clock in the morning, okay? And she would go out in the dark because she wanted to just go out there and be out there on the trail before anyone was on it. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm in bed sleeping until, breakfast is served. And you really do have exuberant energy, and you are an adventurer. I love the way you show up. Come on up. She's an author, and I can't remember the name of your second book. Your first one's Not Like My Mother, and the second one is
I'll Take God, Hold the Religion.
I'll Take God, Hold the Religion. And she is an incredible coach, and she does workshops at their home in Hampton, New Hampshire. She does a lot of work on creativity and accessing your tada. And so I also just want to say one more thing about Irene. And what I love about this Friday group is that people are watching. People really are connecting from around the world. And somebody saw Irene a couple of years ago teaching and invited her to South Africa, and she went. And how long were you there for?
I was there for a month, and I worked with 100 abused women.
So, this is where you can really just decide to ditch your story, shine your holiness. Irene Tomkinson.
Thanks, sweetie. I'm on? Okay. I am so on today. I'm off of the high from the weekend, last weekend in Boston. And I just have to say hi to the 399 or 400 friends that I made over the weekend. And so many of you like lit my heart up when you would come into the elevator and say, oh, I loved your book. Oh, I love you. I love every single one of you. And what you gave me, like the South African experience gave me the sense of how we are connected in the world. I mean, I never in a million years saw myself. Well, that's not true. When I was like 18 and I got married very young, because I was listening to the rules outside of me. I wasn't listening to my internal self. Anyway, it was the same time that the Peace Corps was being created. And I felt so like I lost it. I lost an opportunity to do something that would have I just felt so called to it, right? So at 73, or no, it was 71, I was in South Africa working with women in the settlement, a couple of settlements. And as I'm holding one of the women, I'm thinking to myself, oh, Spirit, you waited until I had something to offer. Because I knew what I was doing there. I mean, one of the gifts of aging in this illusion is you get some wisdom. And I had some experience, and I knew exactly what I was doing and why I was there for those women. And I wasn't blocking Spirit at all. Spirit was flowing through me, except when I would get into my ego. One of the experiences, I'll just share this quickly because there's a lot I want to share with you this morning. When I was holding one of the women in the, I do a lot of experiential therapy and help people get rid of the caca that they've buried on top of their tada. They've used caca to bury their tada. It was a great experience. It was fabulous. She went from being completely silent to finding her voice, and then all of us laughing. There were about 30 women in the room. And my heart was just lit up. And what I realized was her skin was pitch black. Her hair was very, very dark. Her smell was very different than the women I have held here. I've worked with about 2,000 women. And it wasn't a bad smell. It was a wonderful smell, but it was an earthy smell. It was just different. Everything was just different than what I was used to, right? And what she was experiencing in her heart was the exact same experience that I've had with the other 2,000 women I've worked with and with myself. And I felt so connected. So I'm thinking, I'm having my Mother Teresa moment. I was so excited and so happy and so grateful. And then we drove the hour back to the place I was staying. I couldn't, and we're like, I forget, I think we're 8 hours different time zone. And I was trying so hard to get on the Wi-Fi to tell my husband how exquisite the experience was, and the Wi-Fi wouldn't work. I completely found my ego in that moment. I was like, God damn, Barbara. And I thought, oh, there goes the Mother Teresa. It lasted about a half an hour. I think that's what it is. It's like falling off that rope that Lisa just said. I went from one of the pinnacle professional experiences I've ever had to back into my own stupidness, my own like, oh, the world's going to end because Irene can't get a hold of the Wi-Fi right now. Like when you do Mother Teresa, and when you do Mother Teresa, you should get the Wi-Fi, like whatever. It was, but what happened was I got such a picture of how quick we can snap into that stuff, and it was temporary, absolutely temporary. So anyway, what I want to talk to everyone about today is the whole weekend was about your holiness, and that's where we come through to use the gifts and the talents and the intuitions and everything that is flowing through us if we get out of the way. And when we do that, we are the healers that we're meant to be. So I'm going to start with one sentence that should clean this all up for everybody, in case you have any question about what you're doing here on the planet, looking for your bliss or finding your way to make a living or whatever. Your purpose, according to lesson 37, how your holiness blesses the world. Your purpose is to see the world through your own holiness. That's it. That's all you need to do. And you came fully loaded with your holiness. You came with everything. You came fully loaded with your holiness. And all you have to do to experience this in the most perfect way is to see the world through your holiness. All right, I can end now.
Thank you.
Okay. The reason that so I'm going to tell you why we hide our holiness. Okay? Why do we hide our holiness?
We were trained.
Yeah? Why do we hide our holiness? So, the therapist teacher in me wants to give you some kind of templates. You know, a template is not it's not meant, it's not, how do I say, it's so hard to talk in the illusion and talk about what's perfect, right? But templates are just patterns that we get stuck in. So I'm going to explain some patterns that we get stuck in. So when you come here as a little one, right? When you land here on the planet, you land with what I call your ta-da. And if you are with any kind of munchkin, any little one, you know that ta-da is real until they've been hurt, until they've been frightened, until they've been told that they are less than the ta-da or the ta-da is too much, right? And it happens in lots of ways because for little ones, once we get here, they see whoever their caregivers are as their gods. Mom, dad, aunt, uncle, foster parents, institutions, however they're being raised, who's ever bigger than them is God to them in their universe. And so what happens here in the illusion is that something will happen and they start to make meaning. We start making meaning day one when we get here. We start making meaning, and that meaning that we start making just kind of drips like acid and builds a hole in that. Well, you know what? It doesn't drip like acid. It drips like a stalactite. It starts to build up and covers up that light that we are. So one example of that is for little ones. If there's any kind of anger, violence, the violence can be silent violence. You know, when you go into a room and mom and dad or whoever is mad at each other and they're not even saying a word. You know, when you walk into that room that something's loaded in there. No one has to be talking. That energy is palpable, okay? Or the energy can look like screaming or hollering or fighting or whatever, okay? So there's something that happens and the energy looks like this, whatever the explosion is or the silent violence is. Then afterwards, nobody says anything. It's silent. I'm going to use the example of an alcoholic home, okay? Somebody comes in, they throw a fit, they throw a scene, they act like an idiot, and you're a kid watching that, and then afterwards, it's silent. Nobody says anything about what went on. Nobody talks to you and says, gee, I'm really sorry that last night your dad came home and made that scene. It's not about you, honey. It's not your responsibility. Very, very few of us got talked to like that. So what happens is there's this quiet and there's this silence until the next blow up. And then there's a quiet and a silence till the next blow up. Can you see a pattern here? So what happens is a kid says, I don't want this, I want this. And what this is, if you think about the monitor in the intensive care hooked up to the heart, this is death. This is ultimate separation. This is right before death. What the life energy, the heartbeat, what life energy is supposed to look like is this. But what happens from very, very early, very, very young, is we think the goal is flatline. That's the beginning of separation from the self. My feelings are not okay. Separation happens in here. My feelings are not okay. The way I'm experiencing this is not, I'll give you something to cry about. Oh, I thought I had something to cry about. And you're my God, so I better not do that. It makes you angry. Or stop fooling around. Stop fooling around. Oh, we were silly. Oh, don't be silly. That's not going to work. Or you're too much. You're just too much. Or you're not enough. I mean, there are 1,000 ways we get the message, right?
I'm bored.
You're bored?
Well, yeah, that's my thing. Now, like I went to the conference, now I'm bored.
Okay, well, I'm going to be talking to that. Okay, that comes in a list of denial. So anyway, you know, the 1,000 different ways that we get a message that we're not okay. Or we take that on that we're not okay. So my situation may look a little dramatic to you. I grew up in violence, all right? The situation doesn't have to be violent for us to get disconnected. It doesn't have to be really super, super dramatic. It can be we get ignored. The 3 things a child needs are quality time, quality attention, and quality direction. If any of those are missing, it could be mom is sick. Or dad and mom, you know, have to work 3 jobs and they're not there. You still can get the message, I must not be important. Or this God that people tell me about isn't giving me the same kind of good stuff Sally and Joe and Johnny and these other kids are getting. Why is it different at my house? I must not be right enough. I must not be good enough. I must not be doing it right enough. We start all that kind of like taking it on. Every one of those is a drop on our self-esteem, on our holiness, on our tada. And it starts to cloud it, and it starts to cloud it, and it starts to cloud it. And we start making decisions. I grew up in violence. I was the oldest one, and I was a protector of my mom and my 2 sisters. When I first started to learn about this stuff, I thought, oh my God, Irene, can you get more dramatic? So I called a sister who's a year younger, and I said, Daddy, I just started to get this stuff. Is this right? And she said, oh my word, I have the dream all the time that an army is coming towards us, and we're all hiding behind you. I was really disappointed that she said that because I wanted her to say, no, you're being very dramatic, knock it off, you know. I didn't want her to validate that what I was experiencing was true. So what decision did I make? I made the decision that the worst thing in the world was vulnerability. I could not be, wait a minute, vulnerability. I could not be vulnerable. Vulnerable was dangerous. Vulnerable was stupid. You know, keep your back to the wall, watch where the doors are, always be looking for, you know, escape, always be looking for when the shoe's going to drop or what's going on, right? So from that, I developed some really clever sarcasm. You know, from that, I developed some really good nastiness that could come out of my mouth. And I also went into relationships like this. So it's very, very hard to have intimacy or closeness if you don't have vulnerability. And vulnerability is like pure, open trust and allowance. And how much do we fight vulnerability? Don't let them see that I don't know that. Don't tell my truth. Don't be honest. Don't be honest with self because I don't want to look at that. We're constantly, there are 1,000 different ways that we live into the separation. And if I can't be connected to me, I cannot be connected to you. It just doesn't work. I cannot see you or be with you or experience you through my holiness if I've got myself so disconnected. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Take a deep breath. Okay. So here's the way I started to walk out into the world. People who had fear had an attitude problem. Get over it. Get a pizza and a beer and knock it off. do something to numb it out. I really, really thought that I was a ballsy broad and that there was something wrong with other people who had vulnerability. I could hardly say it without wanting to gag on it, right? But then I was treated to this wonderful, wonderful experience of alcoholism out of control.
Nice.
You know?
Fast track.
So the universe said, oh, you don't want to do vulnerability? We'll give you vulnerability, right? So alcohol wasn't working anymore. I turned that into the God of my understanding, right? It wasn't working anymore. So I went to a 12-step program. And in that 12-step program, they weren't going to teach me how to drink. They were going to teach me how to live my life without hiding out. And when I put the alcohol down, I could not believe how full of fear and terror I was. For me, it was like finding out I was a black woman and I thought I was Caucasian all my life. I mean, it was such a mind twist, such a mind twist. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was without my game. My game was I'm really funny and I'm really sarcastic. And you think I'm a party unless I'm doing my sarcasm on you. And then I'm a bitch. But you've got an attitude problem because, you're too sensitive. So wouldn't I become a therapist? I mean, give me a break. We teach what we need to learn, right? So thus, attitude. And so I can compare it very much to like when you start getting into this program and it's you give everything meaning, I give everything meaning. That a-hole gave me the meaning. Oh, you created that a-hole. What? Or you start just shutting my mouth. I start just shutting my mouth and listening for a moment, right? And not using the template and not using the closed fists and kind of stunned with what's going on internally while I'm watching things unfold in front of me for my lessons. So this weekend on the retreat, on the conference, so I've been studying this stuff and looking at this stuff for 35 years. And I have been to a zillion workshops and there's always still something to learn about the layers that are going on inside, right? So one of the things that I had a lot of pain about, shame about, is the way that David and I in our marriage has been as we have aged. So it'll be 48 years we're together this summer. David's going to be 75. I'm 73. There's been this bitchiness on my part after he had his open heart surgery. He had open heart surgery about 8 years ago. Yeah, and he's lived very differently, okay? I feel he's more vulnerable. He feels he's more vulnerable, all right? And yet he's done fabulous, okay? But if he doesn't take a nap in the afternoon, he gets kind of loopy. Just things have changed. Things have changed, right? So I can swing from, and I have friends who are same age and have husbands, like one has a husband who has Alzheimer's, another one has a husband who has prostate cancer. And we've all been married about the same length of time. And they go through the same thing that I go through. It's like you get really compassionate and loving and caring and nice, and then the switch goes off and you get bitchy, like, you didn't take your nap, why didn't you take your nap? If you don't take your nap, your heart's gonna beat too fast, right? Because my bitching is gonna calm you right down, right?
Well, let's give a big round of applause to David.
That's my stick.
And then I go away from the conversation. Did you take your medicine? Did you take your vitamins? Did you drink your juice? Did you blah, blah, blah? Have you had water? Did you have a nap? All right. And then I walk away from it and then I feel like a jerk. I feel, ugh. Because one of the things that happens when you start realizing you're the cause of it all is you have to start looking at, what are you doing? This isn't kind. One of the things that Bob Perry said, the guy who wrote the Purple Book, Robert Perry, said, that man who worked on the new Purple edition, one of the things he was talking about was a miracle is kindness. A miracle is courtesy. I know I have read that before, but let me tell you, that just went, ugh, just slammed in, because I have felt so sad that I'm not being courteous to my best friend, to the guy that's been with me for 48 years. And it's mine. What's going on with me? And what I got was, he is showing me the face of my own aging. He is the face of my own aging. And I know that everything's timeless and this is not a body, but the way I see it is, this body is going to dissolve in lesser time than I'm going to have to be here. Do you know what I mean? I'm on the downhill side of this. You know, people say, well, the 70 is, you know, the new 60 and the 50 is the new 40. Well, let me tell you, the 80 is the same old frickin' 80. You know?
Thanks, Irene.
And I know this isn't very spiritual to be owning this, but it's what's going on in my reality. But I really got it. I don't want to be this scared. I don't want to be this unkind. And so what happened was, I faced it. I owned it. I went down in this direction and I owned my vulnerability. And in owning my vulnerability, it kind of dissipated. I think David would say I came home a kinder person. You got to say that we're on camera.
I was thinking of saying it as an addendum to your talk, but yeah, absolutely. Definitely a different energy.
And it was because I owned the vulnerability. So what I did was I connected. I left the separation. So whatever this experience is, so my experience now, or my lesson now, is this thing called aging, is just showing me that vulnerability is where I need to be, because that's right there, the doorway to holiness. Vulnerability is at the doorway to holiness. I think it's like the connection. I really saw it over the weekend. It's the connection between the ego and holiness. So there's something does this make sense?
What's amazing too is you weren't going to go.
Oh, right. I could totally identify with Lisa when Lisa says, like, I kind of cynical about going, you know, like, what's the deal? Why am I doing this? And when she was talking about going to the conference, and I had just gotten back from San Francisco 2 days before, and I was wiped, you know. And then my daughter said, you're going to whine about it. You're going to go. And then you're going to say, oh, guess what I learned? It's like, all right. And the food was amazing. So anyway.
Is it acceptance? Vulnerability? Is it acceptance?
Sure. So with this vulnerability, I just lost my train of thought. Wait a minute, I'll come back.
You drew a line.
I drew a line. Well, let me talk to you about denial. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The only way that I could come into the vulnerability, there's a companion with vulnerability, and it's called compassion. To have compassion for myself. Because if you're full of shame or you're full of self-loathing, vulnerability just says, look what a jerk you are. Look how you did it, you know, and wants to punish you and argue with you and whatever. I have enough self-esteem and enough compassion that I could come to myself and say, you know what, you've never done this phase of the life journey. you know, and it is scary because it's always walking into the unknown. One of the 5 things I talk about in my book, I'll Take God, Hold the Religion, I made 5 Karens, and the Karens with them are the idea that these are not rules, but what they are, you know, a Karen are those piles of rocks on a hike, right? And they don't tell you what street you're on. They just tell you you're on the path. They don't even tell you where to go. They just say you're on the path. And one of the 5 Karens that I use that says you'll know you're on the spiritual path is when you begin to tolerate the unknown. When you begin to get more and more comfortable with the unknown. And so we're always in the unknown. Because whatever this is, it's temporary. And so the unknown about what's it going to look like at 80? What's it going to look like when this body goes? I mean, I have some strong ideas about that. I've been with people at the end, you know, but or the beginning. But anyway, in this whatever this thing is called me, it's scary. So I have compassion for myself. When I got to that vulnerability with Bob Perry, it's like, oh, here's a reason why I'm here. That was just one of many reasons why I was there. And then it was like, Irene, you did the best you could, but now you know something different, so you're going to do different. You know, now you're going to do different because you know different. One of the ways that I think you get better with letting go of those ropes and just doing the free fall is that you begin to have more and more experience of how things can work for your better and your good, even though you're scared. Does that make sense?
Free fall?
Yeah. So let me tell you about denial. And this is my way of explaining it. There are other ways other people can explain it. So this isn't like, it's good enough. All right. I was going to say it's not super duper science, but it's good enough. So so something is coming into your life and you don't want it. Okay? So somebody dies. The first thing that you do, you know, somebody you care about, somebody who's important, the first thing you do is you go, no way, right? You push it away from you because you just can't, it's like, it just isn't going in. It's not going in. It's too much. Nature sets that up as a protection. It's because if you took in all the ramifications of what that's going to mean to you, you would be absolute emotional roadkill. You couldn't handle it. So nature gives you a way to kind of like buffer it. But then and that's called simple denial, okay? And simple denial is you just say, no, it didn't happen. Well, this can happen to lots of kids. You know, like, I don't want to know my dad's a drunk. I don't want to know I was sexually abused. I don't want that story. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. It happens to us all through the ages too, not just as a little munchkin, all right? But we say, no, it didn't happen. No. Well, then you start to go, you know, like this imaginary person who transitioned. Then you go to the wake and you go like, oh my God, this is real. This really happened, you know, and it starts to sink in and it starts to sink in. Or the birthday comes around and they're not there to call, or a holiday comes and they're not there to invite. And you get like, they're not here, you know, and then you have some tears, you know, and grief kind of washes through in waves and it becomes more and more real to you. Okay. And that's the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to kind of dissolve and you're, you know, so that it buffers you, but eventually it's not there anymore. So that's simple denial.
Is it like terrible truth that kids, like they learn to say no?
No, it's very different than that. I can tell you about that one after. So then another one is diversion. So something's coming at you and you don't like it. You don't want that, okay? You can divert yourself. You can use humor. You can use work. You can use alcohol. You can use codependency. I'm going to take care of you because God knows I don't want to look at me. You know, you can be busy. You can do the combination. You can use food. You can use shopping. That's diversion. You can study about it. How many people in the course are studying about this spiritual stuff, but not moving into changing behavior? or changing the way they are. And I'll just read another book. I'll just read another book. I'll just read another book, right? I'll take another class. And then it all stays up here. Because vulnerability is down here and here. All right? Another one is hostility.
No. Move on.
You tell me something I don't want to know. You confront me with a situation I don't want to be in. Goddamn, rah, 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 rah. I push back really, really hard. I push you away. You know, I push and push. Anger, just a quickie, anger is always on top of sadness and hurt or fear. Okay? Always, always, always. And we can get stuck up here in the anger. I was definitely up there for a long time. Or we can get stuck in the sadness and hurt and the fear, which is how we can land in depression because we don't let the anger out and just finish it. It's just about letting it roll through and just finishing it, all right? So hostility is another way. How many people do you know that keep that wall up with that hostility? And it can be silent violence or it can be loud and physical. Okay? Another one is intellectualizing. And intellectualizing, a good example of that is blaming. It's like anything that's like an outward movement, you know, you push it away. You talk to me about my alcoholism and you don't like, you know, you say, Irene, you're drinking too much or whatever. And I go into a conversation about, you know, in Europe, they let the kids drink wine at breakfast. I mean, they really train the kids how to how to drink. And so they really know how to do it. We need to do more of that. I just took the whole conversation away from me and put it over here in this debate we can now have. You know, just moved it all over because I don't want that vulnerability. I don't want you telling me about something that I need to look this way with, okay? Blaming, there's, you know when this is going on, all right? And then my personal favorite is minimize. So minimize is something's coming at me and I don't like it, and I say, it's not that bad. It was, you know, I used to say, my mom was married 6 times. And the joke with my sister and I was we turn the mailbox this way so we could list all the names, you know. There'd be more room for the names. So it was just always, wasn't that bad? People have it worse. Wasn't that bad? Wasn't that bad? What I'm doing is I'm pushing it out here and I'm not going in to say, no matter how it is, it hurt. Or it was scary, or it was hard, it was whatever, okay? Because we know, and this isn't the whole story. The sexual abuse, the alcoholism, the divorce, the not enough money, none of it is the whole story. It's just a little vignette that's happening in this much, much bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we were some wonderful light before we got here, and we're going to be back in full swing without the ego in some wonderful light when we leave here. And these are some vignettes that we have to go through so we can validate we are that light inside of us, with us, as us. Because it's way more than inside. It's this ocean that we swim in that is us. And I know that's hard. It's hard to get that. We keep wanting to put caricatures on it. You know, we keep wanting to call it a something with eyeballs, right? We want to, it's so much more than that. The mystery of it all and the absolute knowing of it all is so exciting. Part of what I experienced over the weekend that was really, really fun was, is, as Lisa said, there were 400 people there all knowing that this was illusion, all knowing that there's a much, much bigger picture. And that doesn't mean we don't walk through whatever this is. We walk through it. But we walk through it with like a grain of salt, right? Because we know there's so much more going on. And tapping into it together was way cool. was way cool. And they had really, really good cake. Like tablesfuls of it. Oh my God. Anybody? Did you want to say something, Dave? Does he need a mic?
No.
You don't need a mic and you don't want to say anything?
I was just going to talk about a little bit of an example of intellectualization.
Yeah, where's the mic? It's behind.
Sure, here.
Which happens all the time. And
Okay, let's do it.
the intellectualization happens when people feel uncomfortable, depressed, or whatever, and they go and they seek help in therapy. So you do a little thing and you find out, well, there was some serious abuse. But they've got it pretty well intellectualized. The first thing they say, well, my dad had it pretty rough. And so I know where we need to go. We need to go back where the child is inside, because that's the feelings that are held. So one of the challenges of therapy is breaking down the intellectualization as a defense to go into the feeling, which is like frozen inside. And there's lots and tons of walking wounded out there who got lots of frozen stuff inside. Is this making sense? It's just a classic example of intellectualization. Talk about it, but don't feel any of it. That's all.
Right.
So you can't let it go. You can't heal what you can't feel. That's the key.
Now you're writing a Disney song. Stop it.
Okay.
That what'd you say?
You can't heal what you can't feel.
No, but what'd you say,
I
Brian?
said, now he's writing a Disney song. Stop it.
Oh.
Calling in actors to try to get you to feel it, right?
Right. So what I'd like you all to do right now, I'm going to have you guys break into pairs, and we're just going to do it for like 5 minutes because we don't have a lot of time left, okay? I want you to talk to your partner, and you at home, if you don't have someone to talk to, it'd be a really great time to journal it, which is like what I'm always pushing. I'm a journaling pusher. Which one of these do you identify with? We all do a combination, but we all do some more than another. You know, what do you do to push to keep yourself separate? What language do you use? This would be the language of no, it didn't happen. Diversion would be action, some, busyness, something that's other than, so you don't have to go in here and look. We can use money as a great diversion. Oh, I can't look at that. I got to work. I need to make money. Or I can't go to that class because that would cost money and I need money. And you know what I mean? Like we can just use anything to keep us away from looking at the vulnerability or owning the vulnerability inside of us. Hostility, you know what hostility looks like, okay? This was me around the whole aging thing with David. And this, intellectualizing and blaming, finding somebody else to lay it on. When you do this whole thing about looking at yourself as a child and what happened with the adults, first of all, it's not about blaming the adults. It's not about, nobody on the planet got up in the morning and said, today's the day I'd really like to F the kids up. They just don't do that, all right? But what you have to get is, how did it land on me? And how did I, like it says in the Course, what meaning did I give it? And when we're little, we give it the best meaning we know how to give it, right? Kids make themselves wrong because if they make themselves wrong, it gives them the illusion that they have some power over that. I'll just get smarter. I'll just get prettier. I'll just get quieter. I'll just get smart. I'll just be busier. I'll just do everything they want me to do. Kids just make themselves wrong because then they think that then they can control it somehow.
Well, because they can't control the adult.
Exactly. And if you kind of think about it, I just was thinking of this, it's kind of what religion ended up doing. It made us wrong in the eyes of God, the big father, right? We're all wrong. We're bad. We did something because there was a thunderstorm or because the whole original sin thing. It's a whole great big huge projection. So all the information coming in or that's out there says holiness. You don't have holiness. You got a lot to do to get yourself better and gooder and nicer, right? And vulnerability lays right on top of that. On top of all that caca that piles up. So talk to someone. I'm just going to have a couple of minutes where you're going to partner up and just talk. Which parts of denial do are you like more familiar with? And minimize is not that bad. Some form of not that bad. Ready, set, go. Find a partner. And you find some kind of a piece of paper to write on. Talk to yourself. Take a deep breath. Even doing some mirror work could be great too. Looking in a mirror and telling yourself, what is it that I do to stay away from my vulnerability? Therese, do you have any questions there? Do you have any comments? Okay. Is anybody there?
I can identify with all of it. A lot of what doesn't work. I would say the one that still shows up occasionally is the good one. Yeah, just and because then I can deny it in a way. I know what it's not there. So I'm trying to think of an example. Probably the best example is when probably when I don't put myself in good integrity with myself, and then I minimize it and kind of go, oh well, no big deal, and schedule, right? No big deal, I didn't make the phone call. No big deal, I didn't make well, sure, but the problem with minimizing it that way is the problem just continues to cycle. It doesn't get dealt with. Like it just remains as a minimized problem because that's the whole denial.
Because you awaken your future.
Right? Yeah, so rather than addressing it just stays right there as a minimized problem. Potentially forever. Right,
Words on the previous piece of paper.
Oh, they want the words?
I don't remember version.
Not nearly as much as I used to.
But do you want to, or are you expressing it?
Oh yeah, that's what my favorite
Make sure that you both get a chance to talk, right? Back and forth.
We have another friend, Stephanie Blair. They have an identical situation. She's exactly like Irene. And
Okay.
And so I was like,
Come on back. Come on back. So I'd like you to take, I'm going to watch the clock for you so you don't have to, but I'd like you to put your feet on the floor and just close your eyes. If you're comfortable, if you're not, leave your eyes open. You are the boss of you. Take a deep breath. I'm going to ask you to picture yourself as a child. The first sight that comes up, the first scene that comes up, whatever age you call it. Take a deep breath. Now you, the adult, look at this child. Notice how you feel about the child. Feel, not think. What do you feel about this child? Just breathe in. Does the child feel safe with you, the adult? Is there judgment coming from you? Just notice. Take a deep breath. Now you, the adult, ask the child, what do you want me to know? What does the child want you to know? First thought that comes to mind, even if it doesn't make any sense. It could be, chocolate walnuts. Just the first thought that comes to mind. What does the child want you to know? Breathe. Does the child feel close to you, or does that energy feel far or disconnected from you? That's the consciousness. The consciousness of your child is the closest to your holiness. Breathe in. If there's any way that you can imagine embracing that child energy, if you can't do it here or now, think about this at home with a pillow and just kind of hang on to the pillow. Don't push or force this consciousness, because you guys may be too separated right now for it to happen. It shouldn't feel like a force. It should feel like a melding, a melting. Just have a notice. I believe from the bottom of my heart as an educator that when we find compassion for ourselves, we find oneness. And when we find oneness with ourselves, we begin to find it with others. Your purpose is to see it all through the eyes of your holiness. And first you have to see all parts of you through your holiness. Kind of walk your story backwards. Just have a noticing. And you at home, just have a noticing. You matter and you count. Okay, you can open your eyes and that say out loud, I love and approve of myself, and then breathe that in as far as you can. And breathe it in, deep as you can. Because when you get it in deep, you really do begin to feel your holiness, your light. The first time I said that, that's a Louise Hay thing. The first time I said that, I thought I'd vomit, like, oh, God. Oh, what's more vulnerable than that, right? Now it's just delicious. It's yummy delicious. Okay? So my husband and I have a song for you. I know. Before we take lunch and have nappy time, David and I will sing a song for you. We have cake. Lisa brought a tada cake.
Oh, yeah.
Can he be silly?
Yes, no, not with the song. Stop it.
This is a little chant that answers the question, how big is your heart? Not your physical heart.
My heart is an ocean, and everyone and everything is floating in it. What touches me touches you. What touches you touches me. My heart is an ocean, and everyone and everything is floating in it. What touches me touches you. What touches you touches me. My heart is an ocean, and everyone and everything is floating in it. What touches me touches you. What touches you touches me. Okay, let's stand up now. Heart is an ocean, and everyone and everything is floating in it. What touches me touches you. What touches you touches me. Heart is an ocean, and everyone and everything is floating in it. What touches me touches you. What touches you touches me. We do it one more time. I just want you singing this to yourself all afternoon. My heart is an ocean, and everyone and everything is floating in it. What touches me touches you. What touches you touches me. Thank you, guys. You gonna close, Miss Lisa? Are you gonna close?
That was so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, if everybody can jump in a circle, grab a hand. Okay. So thank you so much, Irene. Oh my God, you kill it every time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And for anybody who would like to support this Friday morning group, we appreciate all of your donation. It helps us pay for the space. It helps us pay for the live stream. So we have a box in the back there. Just give what you can. And there's a donation box button online for you live streamers. And we say the unity blessing of the ties, divine love as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Barney Kimball, would you like to come here and do the closing prayer? No? Come here. This angel.
Nothing like getting put on the spot. Okay, let's take a deep breath. It's just, for me, it's all about the love and remembering who we are and sending that love out into the world. Amen.
Amen.
So good. All right, you guys, we got cake over there.
I don't think we need
Can we say goodbye?
I love you.
Okay.
Next week is Lisa Natoli, so you guys come back next week, and live streamers will have Lisa Natoli, and I bet she'll bring some of the
course content back. I mean, some of the Boston energy back next week.
Like really
Yeah.
sat with me. So I was spending some time, about a week, with this guy who had recently got into a